Welcome to Inspire Campfire, a podcast where ordinary people tell their stories of extraordinary adventure. These are campfire stories meant to inspire the rest of us to light the fire within, get outside, follow our dreams, and return to tell our own stories. Ready? Let's strike the match.
Welcome to the show. I am your host, Scott Wurtzbacher, and today we're going to finish up a series of episodes recapping the experience of the first Inspire Campfire Grand Canyon Mastermind group. As part of our retreat to the canyon, and after we completed our backpacking adventure, we were graced with an amazing opportunity to meet with some individuals from the Hopi Tribe, a sovereign nation located in northeastern Arizona. We had an absolutely magical time with them, learning about Hopi culture and witnessing firsthand the wonder and beauty of their tradition. I have with me Drew Lomayaktewa of the Hopi. Drew is a song composer and leader of the Hopi Blue Cloud Dance Crew, and he's here to share a little bit of what the Grand Canyon Mastermind got to experience during our visit. Drew, welcome to the campfire.
Uy, lamat talang ba pas nahalay tayo may itamay pero inemam labay to te. Ne kyatay mayan matsuwa ne Drew Lomayaktewa yan pahan matsuwa ne pipwa ne hot wala sino. Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, kids of all ages. I come to you greeting you with open hands and open ears. I want to welcome you guys here to our show. My native name here is Gyataimai's name to the sun, early rising sun. My English name is Drew Lomayaktewa. I am born for the Tobacco clan, and I am from the village of Third Mesa, Oddfella, to be specific. And I want to go ahead and give a special shout out here to Scott for having me here on his show. Very excited to educate you guys a little bit on Hopi. Let's get things rolling.
Oh, thank you so much. Drew, just for some context for the listeners, just to sort of paint the picture, the five of us that went down into the canyon, we had this amazing experience there in the canyon and got to absorb all of the land of northeastern Arizona and the area where the Hopi live. And when we came out, we went to this amazing resort called Under Canvas. It's a glamping style resort and safari tents and, no Wi-Fi. We're still camping, but it was just a beautiful experience and much more luxury than we had when we were inside the canyon. But one of the nights we had a campfire, and you and a group of people came to join us and to show us a traditional dance and to talk with us about the culture. And it was just such an impactful experience for all of us to be able to learn about the Hopi culture and your connection with the land. I wonder if we could just start. Could you just tell us a little bit about you personally and your connection to the Hopi?
All right. Alrighty. Like I mentioned earlier, I am born for the Tobacco clan. We have various jobs and duties that we have to fulfill as being a member of a specific big clan. There are various clans that we do come from. I do, like Scott had mentioned, I do compose a lot of songs, traditional songs, Hopi songs, some songs that I've listened to. Being a youngster, learning the ways of Hopi. It ain't easy, I can tell you that much. There's a lot to being a Hopi man, living with the land is actually quite interesting. It teaches you a lot of self discipline. Um, I mean, teaches you that you're not the only one living. You're not the only one that has a heart. Um, Being a Hopi, uh, we were not we were we are we are considered peaceful people. Hopi is Hopi is a hard way of life. Um, like I mentioned, um, being a part of Hopi, you have to learn the ways of the land. Uh, Most likely, or more than likely, um, got to learn how to respect it. We do various ceremonies before we do any building of any sort. We do a ceremony before we make our own planting fields. Um, we had around the campfire. I had mentioned to Scott and his group of friends there that we are dry farmers. We dry farm, um, meaning we have fields and we solely rely on our prayers, and um, we rely on our hearts to have the rain come. As Scott had mentioned, I am the leader of the Blue Cloud Dance Group. I am also I am also the song composer of the Blue Cloud Dance Group. In Hopi, I call it Hopi Sakwa Omao Dance Group. Means the Hopi Blue Cloud. Um, just a little information on the Hopi Blue Cloud Dance Group. It does consist of um, various teenagers, various teenagers that I've got together and trying to teach them the ways of being a Hopi. Um, there is a lot to these teachings, as we were taught from generation to generation to keep our culture alive. Um, we also we also have various initiations that um, we all go through throughout our life, and it's also teaching us the morals and cultural duties that we have to fulfill within our lifetimes. um, um, Also, the I wanted to also mention about the land. If you go ahead and dig a little further into your pockets, you will um, hit the search button, and you will find that various native pueblos, as you probably know them as the Anasazis, migrated through a lot a lot of the land. Now there are a lot of archaeological studies that are going on throughout the United States on various pueblos that were migrating throughout um, the United States,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that also being a part of the a land mass that a lot of the native tribes did occupy before the English came arrived. Um, a lot of the land has uh, many shrines. As being a Hopi, we're really closely tied with a lot of the Pueblo groups out in New Mexico. We do share various ceremonies, ceremonies that were brought from various villages that are now ruins. We still hold a lot of those ceremonies today.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So the Blue Cloud Dance Crew, you had some members of that group come to Under Canvas, and while you guys were there, you performed a ceremonial dance for us. And I wonder if you could just talk through a little bit about, for listeners, just to give some context on that dance that you brought to us and some of the significance behind it.
Okay. I had specifically organized this performance. It is called the Hopi Water Maiden Dance. It's called Balhigmana. Balhigmana is it consists of about maybe four young, strong girls, mature girls, as they are pure at life. Um, we, as I had mentioned earlier, we solely rely on our prayers to water our dry farm, our melons, beans. We have various orchards out here, like such as
Mhm.
peaches, and peaches are not native to America. Um, I had specifically brought a young girl to dance to showcase what it is like to be a young Hopi woman. Uh, the Balikmana, she is a very beautiful, being. We like to depict them as butterflies.
Hmm.
Um, on their regalia, they she wears a headdress.
Mm-hmm.
She wears a headdress that consists of various colors. Um, I had mentioned to Scott and his little group of people there that we do have colors of corn that are specifically for a certain direction. As for the north, we call Quininga. It is the direction of the yellow corn. And we got the blue corn. It goes to the direction of west. That is Sakwa. Sakwapa is blue. And we got to the south, it's called Tatkia. Tatkia, it's the red corn. And we got to the east, we got the yellow corn. That's, or the yellow corn. To the east, we got the white corn.
White.
Good.
Okay.
And these various colors are depicted on the headdress and the regalia that the girl does wear. And that is also depicting the cloud kingdom. As you were to look out into the horizon, you will see clouds, and you will see them stacking on top of each other. That is exactly what that that headdress depicts.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful headdress. It was extremely ornate and elaborate.
Right. That headdress was actually a duplicate of my grandfather's.
Mhm.
My grandfather's headdress he had made. They're still usable. I just kind of keep them for myself, and put them away to safekeeping to
Yeah.
have my little boy maybe will be doing some dance groups here
Yeah.
in a few in a few years. But the Balikmana, she consists, yeah, of a young girl, a peer girl. Um, she is she is see, I had the word there. She is geez, come on. She oh geez, I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm sorry. um
Yeah, you were describing the young girl that came and performed the dance.
yeah, okay. Yeah, she's a pure young girl. She has not yet grinded corn to be initiated into her young woman stage.
Okay.
Being a young girl, a peer girl, you grind. They grind corn to prove themselves, to make them worthy of knowing the traditional foods of the Hopi.
Mm-hmm.
As Hopi, it is solely the woman's responsibility to keep the household intact. As a man, we do not. As a Hopi man, us Hopi men, we don't own a house. A house that a man gets, he gets it for his wife and his child. Um, we do not own land, um, as we believe. No one is a sole landowner of this land. This land was given to us by a higher deity,
Yeah.
and that the bickering amongst each other for land should be no more. um, that's our belief. Um, but the young girl, she is molded into a young woman by uh, grinding corn for 4 days. She makes a Hopi pudding we call pikami. It
Okay.
is made out of fine ground sweet corn. It's um, a very sweet corn. It's similar to the one you can buy in a grocery store, but it is it is grown with no. It is grown naturally, I guess you could say.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, she grinds this corn, and various clan members from the father's side will bring corn for the girl to grind to prove to their family that she's worthy of being a young Hopi woman. So she goes through the ceremony, and she she makes her pikami, her pudding. She makes piki. She learns how to use a hot stove. Bare hands. It's piki is paper a paper roll bread. As a lot of other I guess other Native Americans, they call it paper bread.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it is made out of blue corn and a rabbit brush. It is a weed that is burned into ashes, and it gives the blue corn actual color and texture that they make for a snack for the men that go down to their fields, or now we go in trucks, but we used to walk.
Yeah.
uh,
And you actually brought some for us to try. That was really amazing.
right, right. And they make that, the young girls and um, the women, they make that for the men as they go down, tend to their fields, and try to bring in the crop for their family. Um, this The young girl, she also learns, the duties of cleaning a house. Um, After this ceremony is completed, she is dressed up and she's taken home. Dressed up in traditional clothing. Turquoise is native to a lot of the southwestern tribes of the United States. Um, she's taken home, and there she is given back to the mother, so that the mother, you know, helps support her. But it's more or less the girl's duty to um, pick up on what she has went through.
Mm.
It's hard seeing these girls as they're put in a corner of a house, a dark room, a pitch black room, meaning it's also depicting a woman's womb. As she grinds corn in there in the dark, she also collects her mind. She collects, I guess, collects her thoughts and puts it all into one, and she comes out of her womb to be reborn as a strong young woman.
Mm.
And these girls, that go through this ceremony, there are also showcased at one of the last ceremonies to the Kachina spirits. We'll get into that here soon. um, she is introduced as a young woman in the plaza to everyone, um, meaning she's a pure young woman and that she's ready to start making a life of her own, and that she's worthy of taking care of a Hopi man. And the reason behind picking young, strong women to do this dance is that we pray with their energy, their pure energy, that um, they don't hurt no one. They're strongly pure to the land and the clouds and the sun. But as far as finding a girls to dance is extremely difficult.
Yeah. Well, I really love the way that you've described all this. I mean, it's such a beautiful ceremony, and it's actually like, on this podcast we talk about this concept of what we call the hero's journey, and it's this this whole sort of metaphor where, like, we get this call to adventure, and sometimes we experience fear and doubt from getting us to step across the threshold and to go on this adventure and go through this whole experience. But what you just described is a young woman's transformation. It is that sort of hero's journey where, this discussion about where she's grinding corn in the dark ceremoniously, and I loved how you talked about she resolves things in her mind and comes out this strong woman. It's such a cool. There's obviously a lot of tradition and ceremony that goes into that, but it's relatable. I can understand that. It's very, very cool.
Right. And also, I'm telling from a man's perspective. If you were to ask a Hopi woman, she would probably tell you something way something more detailed. But again, that belongs to the women. Yeah. So all we do is make the house and make sure there's water there for the water and food for the family to feed. And also, I wanted to mention, during these days that she's grinding corn, she also does a fasting ceremony.
Okay.
Fasting ceremony consists of no fatty foods, no salt. It's you're more or less eating what Hopis eat. We didn't have no fat foods back in the days. Yeah. It was just lean deer meat.
Yeah. So if we can come back to the dance. So we've talked a little bit about the headdress. Can you talk about the rest of her?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I wish I brought the Hopi kilt to explain specifically what is on her regalia. The Balikmana, she wears a kilt. It is, in Hopi, it is, we call it a pitkuna. It is a tightly woven kilt, similar to a rug. The kilt and the pitkuna depicts the land. As Hopi, we are believed, as we believe in our prophecy, we emerged from the third world here to the fourth world. And that kilt specifically depicts the Grand Canyon, the red walls, as the Hisatsinum, we call them Hisatsinum, the ancient ones, as maybe you know them better by Anasazi. There were various people that were roaming the land as to our emergence. There are different colors of people. Mm-hmm. There are different colors of corn. Every corn that we believe is the color of the people's skin that live here on the land, amongst the rest of us. Um, Going down to the canyon, you will see the walls and the high towering cliffs. It is depicted on the kilt. The kilt also depicts the green nourishment of the land and the water that in the aquifers below the land that I feel, the water aquifers down below the land. I believe that there are deities that also guard the aquifers below.
Mm-hmm.
Um, on the Hopi kill, we also got depiction of clouds, rolling clouds. Also depicts the underworld where we believe we emerged from. Um, Down in the canyon, we have a traditional spot we call the Sipapu. It's where we believe we emerged in here into the fourth world. Um, that's a very long story. As our prophecy, we believe a lot of things are coming true. But,
Yeah, I wondered. You mentioned before about the third world and the fourth world. Could you talk about that just for a minute, just for listeners?
Okay. As Hopi, we believe there were four worlds here before our time of being. The first world, I believe, ended with fire. The second world, I believe, ended with wind. The third world ended by water. And the fourth world, I not have yet learned what the fourth world is actually coming to. But in the prophecy, we also believe that um, there a lot of the prophecy has been really foretold, as to the older elders talk about roads in the sky, and that's meaning airplanes. And they also talk about spider webs in the sky. That's our power lines. They also talked about the black snake, pipelines, and roads, freeways. And they also talk about spikes, meaning fence lines. Coming here to the third and fourth world, we were down in the fourth world where it was we believed was corrupt, where the men didn't respect the woman, we weren't respecting our cultural ways or the ways that we were told to live. So this group of people, they had they had they had heard somebody walking above, so they had wanted to see who was walking above, and so they tried sending various birds up to the sky to see if he can find this person who was walking above the clouds. And all they could hear was thumps. And they sent a yellow bird, they sent a cardinal, they sent a blue jay, they sent a sparrowhawk, they sent a red-tailed hawk. The only bird to reach the top was an eagle. And with the eagle had went to greet this being that was walking above. So he had went to this being and asked him who he was, and this is our deity that we also pray to. We believe that is caretaker of the land before we got here. His name is Masawa. He is a scary looking man. He is a fire god. He is a man that can transform into pretty much anything, any animal. He is not a skinwalker, um, but he was the caretaker of the fourth world. And when the eagle had came to ask this man who he was and why he was up here making noise, the man told him that this is my world. And the eagle had also told him, we want to come live with you. We want to come live your way of life because our life is no good down there, he told him. So the man, they had also had a longer conversation. The Masawa had told the bird, the eagle, that he can go ahead and bring his people. And so therefore the Masawa gave the eagle a bamboo reed seed, told him to plant it. And when that plant gets big, it'll grow up to the sky, and you can come live. He's when you climb up to the top, I'll find you, and I will I will show you my way of life. So this eagle, he had took the seed back down to the third world, and he had planted it, and the people that wanted to leave, they had took care of this bamboo plant, and it had grew similar to Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
um, this reed had grew tall to the sky, and it had gave these people a way out of that corrupt way of life. These people, there were various people that agreed to make their way up as they climbed. There were various clans that came up to the fourth world. And as they all arrived to the fourth world, there was a man sitting in the dark with a fire. And that man Masawa, he came to them with corn. Came to him with the purple corn, came to him with the blue corn, came to him with the white corn, a yellow corn, and a brown corn, red corn as well. Um, he had he had given these corn to the ground, and he had placed them there on the ground, and he had told each person, the leader of a clan, to pick a corn. Therefore, every leader of that each clan had picked one, and the corn was also depicting the ways of life that um, they he wanted them to live, or the way he wanted them to live. So some people had got full ears of corn, meaning they were gonna have a luscious life, abundance of life, and they were they were supposed to have abundance of light, but they were gonna fall short in the end. Um, as far as the Hopi, what we believe, we had picked the smallest ear of corn because nobody wanted the smallest ear of corn, and everybody wanted the long corn. The Hopi had picked the blue corn, and Masawu had told the leader of a clan, the Hopi, that picked the small corn. That last corn that was left, he had told us that we were going to have a hard way of life. The life that we're going to live is going to be hard, and we're going to have to work for everything that we want, and that we were going to be the last people to fulfill the fourth world. And by me saying this, it is very important that we hold on to our traditional ways of life. Um, it was also mentioned in the um, becoming to the fourth world is that we were gonna be caretakers of the land. by meaning not no mining, no drilling for oil, no refineries or selling our land. We were specifically instructed to plant corn, as that corn we were given, that we have chosen. We were also given a planting stick. It is made out of a greasewood plant, greasewood bush. That is called a soya. We were given blue corn and a soya to plant with the land, and therefore comes my favorite saying. I go by live with the land and not on the land.
Yes.
Meaning harvesting with the land, various fruits, as in wild potatoes, wild spinach. We have various plants that we we harvest throughout the year, and we use them for various ceremonies. We use them for antibiotics. We use them for pretty much a daily use. A lot of these plants that grow on our land, we have uses for.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That was one of the most impactful things that you said when we were there with you in the Grand Canyon, was this idea that Hopi live with the land, not on the land. And so I want to come back to that. I want to, if we could just finish up with the dance. You told us about the regalia, the dance that she did. There was a chant and some drums that were being played as part of this. And can you just kind of talk through sort of the meaning behind the dance and the intention behind the dance?
Okay. The the meaning behind the dance was to also call the clouds from various directions, and also give Scott and his group here a really detailed insight on a lot of the regalia that was worn and danced with. They're also very well taken care of. They are washed with a traditional plant we call moho. It's Native American, or native to the Southwest. It goes by yucca. We use the root of it to, the girls wash their clothes with it, and also wanted to give Scott actually a really good Hopi experience. As to, there is a lot of preparation to this dance. It is one hard. I guess it's not too difficult to what do you call it? Get the things ready, as far as feathers. Feathers, as Native Americans, we are the only proud owners to hold eagle feathers, meaning we're the only ones who can possess eagle feathers or have them in our possession. As far as the golden eagle, the bald eagle, red-tailed hawks, gray hawks. Being a Hopi, we also pray for lots of life. Being a Hopi, we also use a lot of eagle feathers to send our prayers to various deities and shrines amongst the land. Also, during the dance, she was wearing various eagle feathers, parts of the eagle that were on a part of the headdress as she was dancing with four feathers in her hands. They were a part of the eagle tail. It is also depicting the clouds. It's also depicting the clouds that we wanted to come join us as we wanted to be happy, and make Scott and his group of friends there a little more comfortable with having something introduced new to them.
Yeah, and that you did. It was really truly a magical experience. And I have to ask you, so after the dance, the days following, did you guys get rain in the area?
Oh yeah, we did actually.
Did you?
Yeah, we did.
Because I was talking to my family. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was talking to my family, and the weatherman had predicted sun that whole week. And the next day it started raining. That's when I went home, and I got home and it rained for like 4 days straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really special. It was a really, really special experience. I would love to come back to this idea that Hopi live with the land and not on the land. And I just wonder if you could talk with us a little bit about that, and also how sort of like, the rest of the sort of materialistic world that we live in, and how we're kind of enmeshed in this world of really living on the land. And I wonder like what kind of wisdom you might impart on the rest of our nation here, what we can learn from Hopi culture.
All right. Well, first off, I guess you can't respect the land if you can't respect yourself. There's a lot to, living with the land. It consists of getting up with the sun. It also consists of praying. Also consists of going out and seeking your own mental cleansing, as far as going out and sitting on the rocks and clearing your mind, singing to the land. As I always tell people amongst, that, come around me, I try to, you know, educate everyone on the land that has many uses. When it comes to, living with the land, I guess it more falls back to respect. Not many people, you know, um, respect it as to where how we were foretold. I'm pretty sure somewhere in the Bible it does talk about land. I've read a Bible, but I cannot remember what I read. There was just so much in there, and it was so interesting that a lot of the ties go back to. It does fall back on a lot of like teachings and teachings that I was taught, and the history of the man becoming to the land. There are also various things that are labeled in the Bible that falls back on Hopi as well. Living with the land, like I said, we harvest various plants from the land, taking care of the land, putting your input into different individuals' minds about the land, as far as land being owned, land for rent, the land being cut up into small sections and being sold as, the land is free. We were given the land to, live with, but we're also destroying the land. um, out on I guess every city you go through, there's trash, and
Yes.
I mean, there's people out there that, I mean, are environmental friendly. They say they go out and have their highway cleanups, but those are the people that are also, are caretakers as well.
Yes.
We try to, I guess, more or less want to see more vegetation.
Yeah, absolutely.
More vegetation as to a lot of indigenous plants to the area where, had vanished due to constructions around the native lands that they were growing in.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it's really helpful. And what was kind of synchronicitous for us was that Earth Day was April 22nd, and that was the first day that my group went into the Grand Canyon, which was really cool. It was really kind of special to be inside the canyon on Earth Day, and so a lot of what you're talking about really, really resonates. And so this conversation is actually kind of bringing me back to that. But I had a conversation with Karen Ald. She's an environmentalist, and she was on this podcast the week that we were in the canyon during Earth Day. So we did an Earth Day episode. But one of the things that we talked about was this idea that you said you can't respect the land if you don't respect yourself. I love that. It was an amazing quote. And it's true. I mean, if we want to be caretakers of the land, we have to also take care of ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah. There was some real wisdom. I loved these points: getting up with the sun, praying, seeking mental cleansing, and singing to the land. I mean, it's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And I'm super excited. Those are some of my takeaways. One thing I think is so cool about Hopi culture, I want to read a quote from the official website for the Hopi Tribe, because it speaks to a lot of what you're talking about. From the website, it says, "Since time immemorial, the Hopi people have lived in Hopi Titswa and have maintained our sacred covenant with Masao, our ancient caretaker of the earth, to live as peaceful and humble farmers, respectful of the land and its resources. Over the centuries, we have survived as a tribe, and to this day have managed to retain our culture, language, and religion despite influences from the outside world." And I love that quote. I think you are living that, and you're educating us on exactly what that says here. And one of the things I want to kind of finish with is, if you can just talk a little bit about how this tradition is passed on from generation to generation, because that's something that we talked about when we were together. We can kind of talk about how you guys are doing that and how you're passing this tradition on to future generations.
Right. Okay, this might be a long one. Okay. From generation to generation, it also starts in the household, um, as far as being educated on simple things as to um, how Hopi is to be lived. Um, like I had mentioned earlier, that each individual of the Hopi, whether he's a man or woman, we are initiated into various ceremonies. One of the ceremonies that I myself have went through is being initiated into the Kachina Society. Kachinas are our higher deities, are our gods. They do depict various animals. Um, We do have discipliners. We do have gentle kachinas that come to, you know, nourish the land and the people. We do have clown kachinas that come entertain, um, but they all come from, you know, who knows where. The kachina society was brought to Hopi from we do not know where. Um, the the societies that we are initiated into, um, we hold various titles. Um, some I cannot explain here, but there are various titles that you're taught a specific uh, way of not only the life that you have to live because you're a title holder to this specific society. Um, you are, I guess, more or less not pushed into learning, but I mean, sooner or later, we're going to have to learn our way of life. And
Mhm.
that is how where our traditional ways are handed down from generation to generation is that when we get to a certain point in our stages of life, we do go through various ceremonies and lots of teachings that I know myself as me being a new father.
Yeah.
I will have to be teaching my son the roles and duties as to being, you know, a Hopi man. And by me saying Hopi man, you know, there's not much a Hopi man owns as to a lot of what the man owns goes to the woman. As far as, you know, teaching my son the roles of planting when he takes his nut when we call it nut when it's meaning of various fruits or various crop that you grow. It's called nut when. But when he takes that home to his mom or his future girlfriend, I hope he doesn't have one soon. But that corn, his crop, he takes in the door does not no longer belongs to him, belongs to the woman,
Mm.
and that's a strong teaching. Um, that is also was handed down from my father when I was a young boy. Um, you know, I lost my father at a very important time of my life. You know, uh, I learned. I mean, I wish I learned more. As my dad was a, um, he was part of the Sun Forehead clan. They're our warriors. They're the first to go. More like I guess you could reference them to Spartans.
Okay.
um, they're the warriors, and they have their own society as well. They're the guards. Um, he was taught his way of life and his duty as far as being born for that clan. And like I had mentioned earlier, I am a member of the tobacco clan, and I take care of all the tobacco uh, products in the kiva. Um, the kivas are where we hold a lot of our ceremonial um, ceremonies. Um, as far as mentioning the kiva, um, that is where a lot of our teachings are done. Um, they also the men are the weavers. That's another society that we have to learn. You know, going through a ceremony, a wedding ceremony, is actually where it consists of a man learning to
Mm.
weave clothing for his family, and that is also handed down from generation to generation. Uh, being a weaver the weaving was actually introduced to us by the spider grandmother, spider woman. She's the one who taught the Hopi how to weave as she spun her web, made clothing to clothe the people back in the days when they were still wearing the raw hides. But there are a lot of teachings to Hopi, and as far as being a member of the Hopi tribe, um, nobody will never know everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's beautiful how you all have taken this tradition that is very old and have kept it alive and have passed it from generation to generation and kept it alive in such a pure way.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I was super inspired by the time that we got to spend with you. I'm so grateful that you guys came and did the dance for us and were able to share with us so much of this culture. And I'm just thankful that we were able to share some of this with our listeners here on this podcast. Drew, I ask everybody that comes on this podcast a question about Hollywood, because someday Hollywood's going to find out about you and the Blue Cloud dance crew. And they might just want to make a movie about you. And so I want to know, when they do, who's going to be the Hollywood actor that's going to play you in your movie?
Oh, the Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
My most famous actor, I'm pretty sure none of y'all, you might have heard of him. He's a funny guy. He's actually he's a really actually I'm inspired by him. He goes by the name of Tatanka.
Tatanka.
Yes, he's
Okay.
one funny individual, but
okay,
he's
I love
a very educated young man. But he's funny, but I'm pretty sure he would be my type of guy.
All right, I love that.
Yeah.
When they make this movie, what's it going to be called?
Let's see. We could put geez, that's a hard one. You got me there, Scott. What will my movie be called? Shoot. I'm always with the clouds, so I gotta go with Land of the Clouds.
Land of the Clouds. I love that. That's beautiful. This is great. Well, Drew, thank you so much for the time today. And I'm curious, if people want to learn more about Hopi culture, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, best way to learn about Hopi culture is to come visit Hopi land.
Yeah, I love
that. If you want to learn about Hopi culture, I guess the only way I could educate you on Hopi culture is to, come visit.
I love that.
Well,
I agree. There's nothing like visiting in person.
Yeah, there's so much to, being there's so much just to, learn about being on Hopi. And the thing is that everybody's willing to, take care of you. Everybody's willing to, educate you on Hopi. There are websites. I also introduced a book to Scott and his group of friends there. It is the title is called A History Becoming Hopi.
Mm-hmm.
This book is fairly new. It was produced last year in 2002. They barely are showcasing this book right now, but I am one of the lucky owners of one of the first copies. This book has a lot of educational knowledge that you can reference to as far as the beginning of Hopi, where clans, migrated from, as far as them doing studies on ruins. As we don't really support the study of the ruins, is because we want to respect the place that the ancestors had lived, and we don't want to interrupt. Maybe they left that ruin for a specific reason. But this book also has various pottery, educational knowledge on clay pots, ceramic pots that were used around native land and by various people. There's also a lot of educational knowledge on where land masses were, also water aquifers. There's just so much into this book, and I highly recommend, if you want to be educated in Hopi, I highly recommend finding this book.
The title, can you repeat the title again?
Okay. The title is called A History Becoming Hopi.
A History Becoming Hopi. Well, Drew, first of all, I want to thank you for your part in keeping the Hopi culture alive. And I also want to thank you for helping educate me, my group, and now my listeners. It's really been fantastic. And for those listening, I hope you've been inspired today as much as I have. I hope Drew's story has encouraged you to listen to that voice inside that calls you to adventure, because we want to hear your story next. If you have a story to tell, or you just need a nudge to create one, please send me an email. We'd also appreciate it if you'd help us spread the word by leaving a review and sharing or tagging Inspire Campfire in your social media. And until next time, I want to encourage you to get outside. Thank you for listening. Drew, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.